Hey y'all, my name is Mary Ellen Stebbins-Slutsky, and I'm a theatrical lighting designer. I work for a lot of different theaters, music, dance, opera, live event companies, as well as site-specific experiences all over the country, but I'm primarily based in New York City. I became interested in lighting design while at Harvard, where I did a lot of theater as an extracurricular activity. Harvard didn't have a theater program when I was there, so I was basically all self-taught, and I fell completely in love with the ability to tell a story visually and collaborate with other artists to create new experiences and connect to an audience. And I discovered I was really good at it. But it was definitely a hobby for me. I was a classics and linguistics major, and I didn't actually realize that theatrical design could be a career until a lot of wonderful faculty started asking me, hey, don't you want to be making theater instead of what you're doing? And thankfully, these wonderful people helped me apply to Boston University, where I went on to have a master's in theatrical lighting design. And I was really nervous, to be honest, when I went to art school because it was so different from everything that I'd ever done before. But once I got there, it was total confirmation that this is what I wanted to be doing with my life. A lot of people who have my job have an undergraduate degree in theater, which I don't have, but that hasn't stopped me from getting where I need to go. Going to graduate school was totally key for me because I didn't have that degree, and thus I needed to learn a lot of technical skills, how to work in a professional setting, as well as make connections to other artists so that I'd be able to find work once I got out on my own. In the freelance world of theatrical design and in theater in general, connections are literally everything. As a lighting designer for a production or experience, my job is to illuminate the space or the action and to visually support the story that's being told. Sometimes this means that I'm doing time of day, like in a play, or I might be focusing more on mood, like in a dance piece or a music concert. Lighting is also about graphic images, like you might see at a rock concert, or sometimes it's more subtle, like a line experience at your favorite theme park. But no matter what approach I'm taking to design, at the very core, I'm a visual storyteller who's actively collaborating with other artists to create something new to connect with you, our audience. And I spend a lot of time with the director and the other designers well before we get to the theater, talking through the project and making sure we're on the same page. Lighting design is also incredibly technical. Light's a physical medium. In order to manipulate it, I have to have a good understanding of its properties. So I study light from not only an artistic perspective, but also a scientific one, in order to learn how to manipulate it better to achieve my purposes. In addition, I'm not only responsible for determining what the looks are on stage, what we call cueing a show, but I also have to determine the types of lights I want to use as my tools to create those looks. Well before I show up at a theater, well before I meet the actors, I began my work in an architectural drafting program where I create CAD drawings that show the space and the lights as I'd like them to be installed in the theater. And once I get to the theater, I work with a team of electricians to make sure that they are properly installed and pointed, called focusing a light, correctly. It's a lot of math and a lot of computer work, as well as many hours spent running a crew, which can be up to 15 people at a time. An average day for me depends on what part of the process that I'm in. So if I'm in pre-production, I'm spending my day working from my home office, meeting with the director and other designers virtually, or if I'm lucky, in person to discuss the work, while simultaneously generating plans and drawings and communicating with the technical team who's already at the theater to make sure we have the right gear and are prepared to start the process together. Once we get to the theater and tech starts, I'm there maybe 8:30 a.m. in the morning until midnight, working with my lighting team first and then rehearsing with the full team until well in the evening, getting everything just right. This part of the process typically lasts 1 to 2 weeks depending on the scale of the production. And once the show is teched, we start previews, and I'll maybe only have to be at the theater 4 to 5 hours a day instead of 14 to 16. Once the show is open, I'm finished with my work, and I pass off my lighting design to the stage manager, who keeps executing it night after night while I move on to the next project. The best part of my job is definitely being in the room, collaborating to make and experience something new and exciting with everyone else. I love to tell stories, and it's thrilling to be making something that's so deeply a collective effort. I mean, theater is totally about communication, and it's a shared experience. There's not one person in the room who has total control, and every project is different. So I get to see new places and meet new and interesting people every day, even though I'm doing the same thing day in and day out. I work in a live medium, and there's just no replacement for the rush you get when you're in a room with 150 other people and you all feel the same moment at the same time. I think the worst part of my job is probably the long hours and the fact that as a freelance artist, I have to stack my projects so close together in order to keep my career going and make a decent living. It's very hard and tiring to go from tech to tech, 14 to 16-hour days with sometimes not even one day of break in between. And you really need to have good time management to be able to manage the stress of that and to be able to consistently be creative during these long days back to back when you really just want to go to sleep. My long-term goal is honestly to make good work with people whom I find interesting and respect. I mean, of course, I want to be on Broadway and win a Tony and light an opera at the Metropolitan Opera. I'd be lying if I didn't say that was true. But even though that's what I'm working for, I ultimately think if I can sustain a career making good work, telling important stories, then I've succeeded. If you're looking to find a career that you love, I would first start by looking at what you're naturally good at. What are your gifts? What makes you tick? Can you translate those skills into something that you can do as a career? My husband once told me that while he likes making theater, he's an event producer, I have to make theater. And I really like that because I think it's totally true. There's no career that's perfect and no job that doesn't come with sacrifices and choices that you have to make that are going to be hard. But if it scratches that itch, I think you've found the right thing. In terms of interviewing, I would say that you should always be totally and completely honest. Always tell the truth about your own experience. Be comfortable and be yourself. It's so telling when someone is presenting as someone that they're not. And you will shine a lot brighter when you fully embody who you are. In terms of a job outlook before the pandemic, I would say the career in the arts is pretty great. I mean, the economy is doing well and there are many opportunities for young artists out there. But unfortunately, at the moment, my entire industry doesn't exist. We're completely shut down and we don't have any sense of when we'll be open. And I can't ignore the fact that right now, I, along with thousands of my colleagues, are totally unemployed. It's scary, but we're doing our best to support each other through the process. And I'm confident that when we do reopen, the industry will bounce back better than ever. And so I would say, yeah, it's kind of a great time to be a young artist. And there's a lot of important stories to tell. So I think I've answered all the questions. And I hope this has been helpful. And if I can offer any other advice or answer any other questions for you, please feel free to reach out and good luck with your job fair.